Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. I'm Becca. I'm a mom to 3 boys and a military spouse. I do a lot of lifestyle, day in the life, motherhood content on this channel. So if you like that type of content, be sure to hit that subscribe button and stick around. I like to keep my videos really motivational, so like get it all done and include recipes and stuff like that. So if you like that type of stuff, then definitely stick around. Today's video is a bit different because it is about my health and what's been going on with me. And I don't always do sit down videos like this, but I figured I would do one sit down video and just talk about what's been going on, because I've been kind of MIA lately and I haven't really told anybody about it. And I feel like I know at least somewhat enough information now to talk about it. And I just want to be open about it, really, at the end of the day. So we'll hop right into it. So just gonna give you guys the backstory. So about a year ago, last February, my whole family got COVID. It was the first time we all got it. None of us had it before. We had gotten it. And all of us, it kind of like trickled down, and I was the last one to get sick with it. So I got sick. I was sick for probably about 5 days. And then there was like an extended period, like a week afterwards, where like I was just completely, like I wasn't sick, but I was so like run down, lethargic, tired, like it was hard to get through the day. And it took me a little while to get out of that. But once I got back out of that, I was like back to normal, back to myself. Everybody was good. I felt like Chris and I were the sickest. But yeah, so everything was good. And then about a few weeks to a month after that, I noticed that whenever I would say bend down to pick something up off the floor, immediately when I would come back up, my head, like the front part of my head, would start throbbing. And it was short, like it would last for not very long, right? But it was intense pain for, if I had to guess, somewhere between 10 to 30 seconds, right? I was like, that's weird. I've never had a symptom like that ever before in my life. And I push things off. That's just the personality type I am. It's like, okay, well, maybe it's my sinuses are acting up. I've always had problems with like allergies and sinuses and stuff. So I was like, maybe it has something to do with that. Maybe, even I talked to Chris about it and he was like, maybe your nasal cavity is a little backed up and it's, you know, affecting like your head. So I kind of just let it go for a couple of weeks and was like, all right, let's see what happens. Well, it didn't go away. So, and I got to a point where I just couldn't take it anymore, because I mean, you literally bend over every day, all day long, right? And it was like, the only way I could stop it from hurting was either to try and like squat down without bending. But even then it would happen, it just wouldn't be as intense. Or like if it was like coming on really intensely, I would just lay down, and that would make it go away. Not instantly, but quicker, right? And so I Googled it, because why wouldn't I? So I Googled it, and it basically said that the symptoms I was having could look like a sinus infection. And I mean, I've never had a sinus infection with that symptom before, but I was like, who knows? Maybe, you know, COVID is a different beast, different on my body. Like you never know, right? So I was like, okay, let me go to the doctors, because if it is a sinus infection, I need an antibiotic, whatever. So I go to the doctors, I get a steroid and an antibiotic. She said she thinks it probably is a sinus infection from COVID. And she did tell me to see a neurologist if it didn't go away. She said, if it goes away, you're good. But, you know, if it doesn't go away, go see a neurologist. So I was like, okay. So I take the medicine, and this was actually right before my trip to Florida. And that I took with Ashley. If you didn't know, my friend Ashley, who is on here, we met up in Key West, or we met up in Miami, drove down to Key West, whatever. So that was right before that, right? Just to give like a time reference. So I take the antibiotics, I take the steroid, and it goes away. So I'm like, awesome. It was just a sinus infection, not a big deal. I'm gonna be okay. So I go to Florida, live my life, and then about July time frame, it comes back. And at this point, when it came back, it was super alarming. Like, it would be an understatement for me to say that I wasn't concerned, because it's a symptom I've never had in my entire life. Everybody I talk to within close vicinity, they've never had a symptom like that. Like, it wasn't anything that I could have been, you know, everybody gets headaches, right? And I've always gotten migraines, I've always gotten headaches. And whenever you have a symptom that's kind of like regular, it's easy to be like, oh, not a big deal. But when it's something you've never experienced in your life before, and the people around you are like, no, I've never had that issue, it's scary. So, and it's your brain, you know, and it's like a throbbing, the best way I could explain it is it's right in the front of my brain, and it's a throbbing sensation. It's almost like a headache on steroids is what I tell everybody. And it's just like, it's almost like, sorry if like this is too like graphic or whatever, but it's almost like my brain is throbbing and bouncing off my skull. It hurts so bad. And it doesn't last for a long time. It's like a contraction, like it's intense pain in your head. For, you know, like I said, if I had to guess, it's somewhere around 30 seconds, maybe sometimes a minute, depending on what I do. Like, if I don't try to stop it from coming on or try to ease it, it stays. So I usually have to try and find a way to maneuver around it. So anyways, so it comes back, I get really scared. I go back to the doctors in August, and I'm like, okay, you know, I was here a few months ago. You told me if it came back or if it didn't go away, that I needed to go to, you know, see a neurologist. So can you refer me out, basically? And she referred me out to a neurologist. My neurologist is amazing. I could not be happier with the doctor that I have. He seems like he really cares and he really wants to figure out what's going on. Like, I'm just really happy that I got a really good doctor who seems to care. Because you never know nowadays, you know, some doctors, they kind of push you off like, oh, whatever. But yeah, so they referred me out to a neurologist, and I went to him, and he said, you know, immediately, we're gonna have to do a scan of your head. We're gonna have to do a scan of your head to see what's going on. He openly said in that conversation, we need to make sure you don't have any brain tumors, which of course, like, I just wanted to like sink into the chair. Like, it's scary. So I went ahead and went in for the first MRI, and they had me do, it's about a 45-minute MRI. They did an MRI, just a regular one, and then they did one with what's called contrast, which is where they put an IV in you to run fluids through your system so they can see the fluids running through like your veins and stuff. So if there's like a blockage or something, they'll be able to see it because they'll see the fluid stop, right? So they had me do those 2 MRIs. And he literally, I mean, he called me that same day I got my MRI. And once again, like, you know, his front office called me and said, hey, are you available? The doctor wants to talk to you now. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm dying. I'm dying. Thank God I'm not. But he got on the phone and he was like, he could see on the MRI that the front of my brain is actually sagging. So it's like sagged down or whatever. That's what he said. It's sagging, which usually happens because it's not getting enough spinal fluid, brain fluid. I don't know. I think he said spinal fluid, I think is what it's called. So, you know, your spine runs fluid from, you know, all the way at your bottom of your spine, goes all the way up and through, you know, your brain stem and into your brain. And it, you know, obviously like hydrates your brain, right? And I'm not getting enough in that area. So my brain is almost like sagging. Like the way I think about it is like almost like a drying out sensation, you know? So I'm not getting enough. And for whatever reason, obviously bending over and coming back up like makes it worse because it's already lacking what it's not getting. So he said that this typically, well, first off, it's called spontaneous intracranial hypotension is what it's called. And the only time he ever really sees this is for people who have had a surgery recently or who have had an epidural. I have had neither. And Tristan is 4 years old now. And if it happened through an epidural, that would have been like an immediate thing. Like right after having him, I would have had these symptoms, which is wild because I've had 3 children and I've never ever been told that this is a thing. So basically what it is a tear within your spinal column. It's a tear that's where the fluid is being released. So not enough fluid is getting to your brain because of the tear and it's leaking out, right? So it's called a leak. So we don't know why it happened to me. Because I haven't had, he said, you know, sometimes it can happen in rare cases of like whiplash. And then he wondered, because my symptom was right after COVID, if maybe I was coughing so hard from COVID that maybe I gave myself some type of like whiplash or something. Like it's kind of the only thing he could come to, like maybe that's what it is. So he had me go back in for another MRI, which was 2 hours long. And he had me do a full spine MRI with and without contrast, because obviously the contrast is going to show him if there's a leak. You know, you'll see the fluid coming out. There was nothing. He couldn't find anything. So he went ahead and had me go to another place to get another MRI. Once again, hour and a half long. So he had me go to a different place with a different MRI machine, and he had me do an MRI there. And once again, it showed nothing. The only thing he found on my spine is I do have a few small cysts, and one of them he doesn't think would be big enough to cause a leak, but he's also not 100% sure. It's so small that like I would never know it's there. It would never affect me, like hurt me or whatever, but it is bigger than the other 2. So he wonders if maybe it's sitting in a weird location, but it's not showing like that's where the leakage is. So he cannot find a place where there's a tear in my spine where it would be leaking. He can't find it. So Chris actually went into his neurologist because he has chronic headaches, so he goes to a neurologist regularly, and he went in and was talking to his neurologist about what was going on with me. And his neurologist said, you know, Duke University actually has a specialized team that works just for the condition I have, the spontaneous intracranial hypotension. So he told me about that. I went and talked to my neurologist about it because my neurologist is kind of like, I don't know what to do from here because I can't find it. So he can't fix the leak because he can't find it. So there is a spinal tap that he could do, and that would kind of tell him where the leak is, but that comes with complications. So that could give me the same symptoms that I'm having now forever, or it could give me worse headaches. So to him, it's like, why would we do that when it could make the situation so much worse? Like we might be solving one problem and causing another, and I'm not about doing that either. So, I mean, nobody's going to be able to convince me to do that anyways. So yeah, so he's like, I don't really know what to do with you anymore. So I told him about Duke University. They're in North Carolina. So it's quite a ways from me, but it's not too far. It's drivable distance. So he actually told me this week that he referred me out to them because it's basically like a research team, and you have to be referred by a neurologist, and they have to look over all of your scans and everything before they'll accept you. And that's kind of the process we're in right now. I have to get the scans to them. But my neurologist is confident that they'll take me because I have exactly what they partake in. And the wild thing is, like, my neurologist has no idea why this has happened to me. He's never seen anything like this. Like, he's never had a solid reason of why this has happened. He's never had, you know, he's never done all these scans and not been able to pinpoint where the leak was. Like, he doesn't really know what to do with me. And, you know, by all means, I'm a rare case because he doesn't understand. So he's curious to get me into Duke and see what they say. Like, maybe they have come across this before, since that's what they specialize in. Maybe they'll know immediately what to do. Maybe they will tell me I'm like completely rare and they have no idea what to do with me either. So it is difficult because, I mean, of course, I'm incredibly happy that I'm not dying. I'm not terminal. I don't have a brain tumor. Like, what is going on with me is completely fixable, and I can live with this. Like, you know, it's not good for my body. I'm sure it causes a lot of stress on my body. You know, it's kind of depleting my system or whatever, but it's not terminal. Like, I'm not gonna die from this. So it's just figuring out, you know, how to solve it, basically. So that I am very grateful. But at the same time, it's like, I've been seeing this neurologist for quite a few months now. And every time I talk to him and he's like, I don't know. It is like super discouraging because, you know, I don't want to live with this pain forever. And, you know, I can't exercise because anytime I raise like my heart rate, anytime there's like high intensity, my head starts throbbing. So like, it's not just when I'm bending over, that's just my daily occurrence. Like, every time I bend over and go to like pick something up, like, you know, that's where it's like really triggered because those are motions you're making on a regular basis. But whenever, like, I just avoid working out right now. Like, I enjoy working out and I want to get back to like fully working out, but I can't right now because every time I try to work out and, you know, my heart rate goes up, it starts throbbing and I get that pain again. And then I have to like stop and like slow down and everything. So, you know, I don't want to have to deal with that for the rest of my life. I would like to have some answers. Like, I would like to understand what's going on and why this is happening and all of that and how this could have possibly happened. Because usually there's like a really good clear-cut sign as to, oh, okay, this is what happened. Like, some people, when they go in for spinal surgery, like, this can happen because, you know, obviously you're digging around in there, you could tear it by accident or whatever. So it's like, this is expected in those type of situations, and they really have no idea what's going on with me. So it does get discouraging sometimes getting off the phone with him and him not having any answers for me, but I'm hopeful that going to Duke, that they'll be able to give me some answers. And who knows, maybe they've come across a case or two that is similar to mine, and, you know, they'll be able to solve this for me. I have never had surgery ever in my entire life. And the thought of having surgery is super scary, but, you know, there's a high probability that once they figure out what's going on that I will have to have surgery. But that's really all I know for now. So yeah, that's what's been going on with me. That is kind of like what I've been dealing with for the last like 6 months. Like, I mean, I've been dealing with the pain for almost a year now, but knowing what's going on, going through the MRIs and all that stuff has been kind of like I said, I think I went to the doctors, not even 6 months, like 4 or 5 months, because I went to the doctors again in August. So, and that's when I figured out I need to go to the neurologist. I mean, even when I went to the regular doctor, she was like, yeah, you gotta go, because if it's something big, you're gonna need to know so you can be proactive with it. And when doctors start talking to you like that, it's scary. It's super scary. So, and I know as we age, like, things like this happen. So, but yeah, that is what's been going on. If you are somebody who has dealt with this before or knows of anybody who has dealt with this before, I would love to hear your story, whether you feel comfortable leaving a comment down below, or if you want to reach out to me through my direct messages on Instagram. I would love to hear like your story, because I don't know anybody else that this has happened to. My cousin had a friend that this happened to with her epidural, but other than that, I don't know anybody else that this has happened to. So completely random, was not seeing that coming, but that is kind of what I've been dealing with. So I will keep you guys posted as to what's going on. It's going to be a while before I get into Duke, because I have to get them all the information, and then they said that their appointments are usually 10 weeks or more out. So it's going to be a few months before I even see them, but fingers crossed that they have some answers for me. But I will keep you guys posted, and yeah. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, listening to my story, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye.